Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Russiagate scandal. I'll be responding to a video overview of the topic posted by Vox on February 23rd, 2017.
Since his campaign in 2016, there's been a lot of attention on Donald Trump's connection with Russia. Personally, he's made his admiration for Russian President Vladimir Putin quite clear.
Saying that a man is highly respected is not admiration. All they have done is take one quote, and there are a few others like it, and accepted it as fact a priori. By the same logic, you could say that Trump has made his detachment from Putin quite clear, constantly saying publicly, "I don't know Putin, I don't have any ties to Putin, I've never met him, and I don't know if we'll get along, but I'd like to try," etc. And really, come on, could you not have gotten a better Photoshop cutout of Trump than that? Look at the edges. Disgusting.
And some of his administration members have either a long history of ties to the Russian state, pro-Russian views, or both.
Yes, and this is unsurprising. Russia is one of the world's largest economies and is a major player on the global stage. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who doesn't have a history of ties to Russia, Rex Tillerson especially being a leader in the energy industry. In terms of pro-Russian views, we are now in dangerous territory. What is the definition of pro-Russian views? Is eliminating ISIS a pro-Russian view? Is it now improper for any views of American politicians to align with Russian interests? If so, then any hope of a positive relationship with Russia is a non-starter. This doesn't seem like a good way to diplomatically handle the United States' chief nuclear rival.
Back in August 2016, his campaign manager, Paul Manafort, resigned when it was revealed that he had been a paid consultant to Ukraine's pro-Russian former president.
Paul Manafort did not resign when it was revealed that he had been a consultant to the former president. He resigned after the Republican convention to avoid becoming a distraction once the legacy media started to percolate the Russia narrative. Additionally, Manafort was hired specifically for his skills with managing delegates and primary rules at the convention, a task which was fulfilled once Trump was nominated by the RNC. The investigation into Paul Manafort is explained here by CBS Evening News.
Campaign manager who was pushed aside is Republican strategist Paul Manafort. And like many consultants, Manafort hired out to campaigns in other countries. One of his clients was the pro-Russian president of Ukraine, who was later overthrown. Now, Manafort's name has come up in a mysterious ledger that suggests big payments for his talents. Charlie D'Agata is in Ukraine.
Nazar Holodnitsky is Ukraine's new anti-corruption prosecutor, leading the investigation into the secret handwritten ledger showing $5 billion in undisclosed cash payments that were allegedly handed out by the party of former President Viktor Yanukovych, Paul Manafort's client at the time. The prosecutor confirmed that Manafort's name appears 12 times for 22 different entries, totaling $12.7 million between 2007 and 2012.
Are his signatures there?
No. There is not any signature of Paul Manafort, but his name is being mentioned several times.
Manafort has denied receiving any cash payments. Investigators say they're now tracking down each recipient who signed for the cash. The ledger itself is here at the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. We weren't allowed to film it because of the ongoing investigation, but a source showed us a copy of one of the pages. Manafort helped Yanukovych win several elections, and former co-worker Andrei Yermolayev defended Manafort. Paul didn't run expensive technology projects, he said. He worked mostly in foreign policy, so I don't understand what this is about. Paul Manafort continued to work for Yanukovych's party even after the former president fled. Investigators believe the ledger was left behind in party headquarters, and Scott, the person who handed over that ledger, is now in hiding.
Charlie D'Agata in Kiev for us tonight. Charlie, thanks.
In that clip, CBS's reporting touched on the following salient points. Number one, Paul Manafort's signature is not found anywhere on the so-called Black Ledger, where the Ukrainian money supposedly was tracked. Number two, any wrongdoing would have been prosecuted by the Ukrainian government, and 9 months hence has not been carried out. And number three, a former co-worker and Manafort himself deny the accusations. However, Vox has framed its discussion of Manafort as a confirmed case. In reality, it's quite the opposite.
Since then, there have been allegations that the Trump campaign knew about Russia's hack of the election, improper contact with the Russian government, and even blackmail, resulting in several government investigations.
Given the WikiLeaks Vault 7 releases, we know that there are tools in existence that can obfuscate the source of a hack. However, it has never even been conclusively proven that the Podesta and DNC emails were hacked from the DNC. There are many signs that point to the possibility of an internal leak, and the Podesta emails were supposedly obtained via a phishing email. This type of low-rent method would not be used by a state actor. The words being used in Vox's videos are things like possible and investigating, but Vox speaks authoritatively as if they are not just allegations.
In order to understand the scandals surrounding Trump and Russia, it's important to first distinguish the three main storylines. The first centers on Russia's interference in the US presidential election. The second revolves around former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and the third concerns a private intelligence report that claims Russians are blackmailing Trump, known as the Steele dossier. Let's start with the first. In June 2016, WikiLeaks began publishing private emails hacked from the Democratic National Committee. At the time, Russia was the main suspect, but this remained unconfirmed. Emails from the hack continued to be leaked throughout the summer, always targeting the Clinton campaign.
There's the word hacked again. Russia being the main suspect is not an official line at this point in Vox's narrative, and they point out so. Remarking that they were always targeting the Clinton campaign is disingenuous. The emails were from the DNC, and the contents were harmful. There isn't a motive behind that information being harmful, it's just being released. This is another attempt to frame this as a concerted effort.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Most people recognize that Trump was joking here and speaking in a tongue-in-cheek manner. The claim is made repeatedly that he is calling here for Russia to hack Clinton's emails, but that simply isn't true.
In August 2016, close Trump confidant Roger Stone said he was in touch with WikiLeaks.
I actually have communicated with Assange. I believe the next tranche of his documents pertain to the Clinton Foundation, but there's no telling what the...
Roger Stone says the next cache will be about the Clinton Foundation, but who knows what it'll be. Doesn't the fact that this Clinton Foundation dump never occurred indicate that Roger Stone wasn't really in contact with Assange? Funny how Roger Stone is the biggest liar in Washington until he says something that's useful for building a narrative.
On October 2nd, Stone sent a tweet appearing to show inside knowledge of an upcoming WikiLeaks publication targeting Clinton. On October 7th, WikiLeaks released the first batch of hacked emails from Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta.
October 1st was a Saturday, and October 7th was a Friday. Roger Stone is quoted tweeting about a Wednesday. Again, he misses the mark on his prediction, even though, according to Vox, he is in contact with Assange.
Now, on the same day, a joint statement by Obama's National Security Advisor and the Department of Homeland Security officially declared that the DNC hacks were intended to interfere with the U.S. election, and that they believed that only Russia's senior-most officials could have authorized these activities.
The intelligence agencies in question did not release any evidence that showed that the quote-unquote hacks were from Russia. And once again, the Vault 7 release shows us that it is entirely possible to spoof a hack if the hacker so chooses.
On December 10th, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybkov said that there were contacts with Trump's entourage throughout the election, and that quite a few have been staying in touch with Russian representatives.
Yes, Trump's entourage has generals, DC insiders, government officials, and international business people, all of whom would be expected to have contact with the Russians. This is one of the main points of this scandal, so I will not keep bringing it up. But every time you hear the word contacts and interactions, they're being intellectually dishonest.
On January 6th, the CIA, FBI, and NSA together released a report confirming that Putin had ordered the attacks and intended to hurt the Clinton campaign specifically.
This release once again contained no evidence, with reports on the release saying, despite those assessments, however, The report includes scant information on how the government tied the operations to Russian intelligence. Thus, while the conclusions in the report are all reflected in the classified assessment, the declassified report does not and cannot include the full supporting information, including sources and methods.
On February 14th and 15th, phone records reportedly show that members of Trump's campaign and other Trump associates made frequent contact with Russian officials during their campaign. While U.S. intelligence is still investigating Russian interference, the big unknown is, did the Trump campaign know about Russian hacks targeting Clinton? Now, the second scandal involves Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. It's related to the first because it begins on December 29th, when the Obama administration announced a series of new sanctions on Russia as punishment for its interference in the election. On the same day, Michael Flynn called Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak multiple times. Flynn was not in office yet, but has a long-standing relationship with Russia.
Although there have been no transcripts released to confirm that this actually happened, it doesn't seem too incredible to think that an incoming national security advisor would discuss sanctions with a Russian ambassador. In fact, it seems like it's a part of his job to do so.
On December 30th, Putin announced that they would not retaliate against the sanctions, a move that Trump publicly praised on Twitter. Now, this led some to suspect that the Trump administration was telling Russia that they would rethink the sanctions once they were in office. On January 12th, news of the Flynn calls broke. Press Secretary Sean Spicer and Vice President Mike Pence each told reporters that the calls were not about sanctions. On January 24th, Flynn told FBI investigators that he did not discuss sanctions in the phone call. Sometime in late January, Acting Attorney General Sally Yates told the White House legal counsel that she believed Flynn was lying to the Trump administration about what he talked about on the phone call with Kislyak, which would make Flynn potentially vulnerable to Russian blackmail. On February 9th, the Washington Post confirmed that Flynn had spoken about sanctions with Kislyak because the FBI had Kislyak's phone under surveillance. The report said Flynn urged Kislyak to not react to Obama's sanctions because the incoming Trump administration would be reconsidering them. On February 13th, Flynn resigned, saying he had given Pence and others incomplete information about his conversations with Kislyak. On February 16th, the House Intelligence Committee announced that it's including Flynn in its investigation of Russian interference in the U.S. election. So at this point, the big unknown is whether Trump knew Flynn had reached out to Russia to discuss the sanctions.
Why is this the big unknown? Whether Trump knew or not, Flynn wasn't breaking any laws by doing so, and the official reason that Trump asked for his resignation is that he lied. If Trump didn't know, then Flynn was just acting deceitful. If Trump did know, then it seems entirely possible that he would just recognize that as an aspect of Flynn's job.
Finally, scandal number 3 is by far the most bizarre and the least confirmed.
Wait, what you've presented so far is the most confirmed information you've got? It's already full of fucking holes.
It begins sometime during the summer of 2016, when intelligence documents began circulating around the U.S. intelligence community and media organizations. The documents were from a former British intelligence agent who was hired by Republicans and Democrats to investigate Trump. The documents claim Russia has information they could use to blackmail Trump. They also allege that Trump and Russia exchanged information during the campaign to hurt Clinton.
They also allege that Trump is on tape in a Moscow hotel requesting that a prostitute urinate on the bed that Barack and Michelle Obama slept on in a visit to Russia, and that Trump, quote, requested a golden shower show. Translation, this ridiculous dossier is full of shit. It's been repeatedly discredited across many news sources. Note that Vox doesn't bring this up.
On January 10th, BuzzFeed published the entire unverified report after CNN reported that Trump and Obama had been briefed on it. On February 10th, CNN reported that investigators had in fact verified a minor part of the report.
But now, multiple current and former U.S. law enforcement and intelligence officials tell CNN that intelligence intercepts of foreign nationals confirm that some of the conversations described in the dossier took place between the same individuals on the same days.
At this point,
Verified a minor part of the report? Why cut it off there? Who had these conversations? Were they known to people who could have contributed to the fake dossier? Are they significant? Is Vox interested in comprehensive reporting on this, or are they just trying to sell you a narrative?
Investigations into the report continue, and the question of whether Russia could blackmail Trump remains unanswered. These 3 scandals continue, and there are many unanswered questions, but what is clear is that the uncertainty surrounding Trump and Russia is not going to go away anytime soon.
Great work. All you've shown is that you can use words like uncertainty and mysterious and underlay vaguely creepy background music to make it seem like you're making a solid case. But the Russiagate scandal is already collapsing. As John Nolte points out, by this point in the Watergate scandal, there were already arrests and indictments being made. We are 9 months into Russiagate, and we still only see vague accusations, allegations, and somber videos from left-wing news sites that try to make it seem like there's
that
some
can
truth.
definitively answer the
We can
following
give the
question:
last
whether
word
there
here
were
to
improper
former
contacts
DNI
between
head
the
James
Trump campaign
Clapper.
and Russian officials.
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge.
If it existed, it would have been in this report.
This could have unfolded or become available in the time since I left the government.
What,
But at the time, we had no evidence of such collusion.